Welcome to Writing 293. This presentation will help you complete the course successfully. First of all, we start with the weekly agenda. By Monday, you'll start reading the assignments and taking notes, and you can see what the assignments are in this presentation first. Secondly, at the end of the syllabus, there's a chart. And third, probably the best way is to click on content and then week 1, week 2, etc. And you'll actually have live links that take you to each thing you need to do. Thursday is the deadline for your original discussion post. Saturday is the deadline for the follow-up, the reply to another student. And Sunday is the day you submit your major weekly writing assignment. Now, these are due dates, but you can definitely submit work earlier. And I recommend that you do this so that you don't run into a last-minute emergency. Now, this is actually the most important slide in the presentation. It shows you how to allocate your time. And if you look on the right side of the screen, you see the research report. It's worth 35%. Of course, the research proposal is connected to it. It's where you start this project. So that's worth 20%. So 55% of the grade, over half of the grade, is on this research project. So you want to spend a lot of time on that. You'll start the course with the 20% memo, and there's instructions for all of these by clicking on assignments, or again, go to content and click on each week. You will see a link for the instructions there as well. The resume is for weeks 7 and 8, and we finish up the course by discussing and working on how to find the ideal job. Now, if you look on the left side of the screen, you see that 85% of the course points are allocated in the major research assignments. That would be memo, research proposal, research report, and resume. You'll be doing research to write these, and then you will be writing them. You have the opportunity to submit ungraded rough drafts in weeks 1, 3, 5, and 7. Obviously, weeks 2, 4, 6, and 8 are where you earn the points for 85% of the grade. There are never any late rough drafts, but you do have a late penalty, but you can submit work after the due date if it is to be graded. Now, the composition department, has a lot of material on academic integrity and APA, and there are also 2 quizzes. One is on academic integrity in week 3, and one is on APA, and that is in week 4. Together, these total 5% of the grade. Now, that brings us up to 90%, and the last 10% is for the 15 posts, and they are based more on effort than on getting an exact, perfectly correct answer. Sometimes an incorrect answer leads to a more interesting discussion because we start brainstorming. So remember, 15 posts equal 10% of the grade, 5% is on those 2 quizzes, but 85% is on these major assignments on the right side of the screen, the pie chart. Now, week 1, you'll have 3 units to read. You'll have a couple, pages on course modules, and you have to study, obviously, the academic integrity and the APA material. You'll post twice for the week 1 discussion, and we'll be analyzing workplace descriptions and academic writing. And then you'll submit your rough draft for the memo. Remember, no late assignments. Week 2, we continue working on that memo. There's more reading. You continue working on the academic integrity and APA, and This time around, the discussion is about APA as well. And then no later than Sunday, to avoid the late penalty, you submit your final copy of the memo. Week 3, we start a new project, and that's the research report proposal. You have Unit 2 and 4 to read, a module about the writing process, because you are actually writing, of course. And this time around, you have the academic integrity quiz. Your week 3 discussion is about plagiarism, and you submit another rough draft, this time for the research report. No late rough drafts, they're never read or reviewed if they're submitted late. Week 4, you have only one unit to read, Unit 5 about writing reports, and you have a lot of information about how to, write proposals and reports. You take your APA quiz, that's the composition department's requirement for all Writing 293 students. You post twice for the week 4 discussion, and this is all about sources that you may or may not use in your actual weeks 5 and 6 research report. So it goes along with the research project. You submit that final report for a grade no later than Sunday to avoid that late penalty. Now, week 5, we start a new project, but it's related. You chose your topic with the research proposal and you got it approved. If you didn't like anything on the list, you could have suggested a different topic as long as you didn't write on it previously. You have 2 units to read about, summarizing information. Obviously, do a lot of that in your research report that you're working on. And also, previously, you didn't have to include graphics, photos or charts or graphs. This time you have to, so you have a chapter on that, a unit on that. The week 5 discussion looks forward to weeks 7 and 8 when you're thinking about job search, which unfortunately often involves layoffs and networking and things like that. So we have a little business case scenario to work on. And you submit the research report draft on time or it won't be read or reviewed. I have to keep stressing that because I have to treat all students alike. And with 8 weeks, we have to stick to the deadline for the rough drafts. Research report continues in week 6. You have one unit on revising and editing because that's what you're working on for that 35% of the grade. And this time around, the week 6 discussion goes along with it because you post a part of your report and get not just my feedback, but the feedback of everyone else. This time around, 35%, and the late penalty is a percentage, so you definitely want to get that research report in a day or 2 early just to make sure there are no slip-ups, no emergencies. Now, week 7, we start the job search unit, and that's for week 7 and 8. You will be reading the same chapter for both weeks. It's a lengthy chapter, it's involved, and you'll read the whole thing and then you'll reread it the second week. I would advise that. The discussion is all about should we be using, things like Craigslist? How do we network to get a job? Your resume is a draft this time, so there's no late assignments. Week 8, we finish up the course. You have the same chapter to read. That makes it easier as you're working on other projects. You post only once. This time it's about writing effective cover letters. That's also easier. You can continue to discuss and reply to other students, but I'll only grade the original response. It has to be in on Thursday, as does your resume. I have a Thursday deadline because it does give me a little bit of leeway in case someone, is has an extreme emergency, we still have until Sunday. But the grades are due within a certain amount of hours after the course ends. So forget about, the fact that we actually do have till Sunday to complete the course. Think in terms of Thursday. Everyone will have all the work in. That way, everybody finishes up and everybody gets a grade. Uh, so make sure you think Thursday for week 8, not Sunday. Sunday is only for extreme emergencies. Now you have 2 weekly discussion posts for weeks 1 through 7. That's 15 posts because we also have one in week 8. So that's where you get the 15th post. And that's 10% of the grade. You post the original post by Thursday at midnight, follow-up post by Saturday at midnight. If there's an extreme emergency occasionally and you do post up until Sunday, that's okay, but always, always in the current week. And reading highlights, that's where you can lead the class by posting whatever you want that uh, maybe it intrigued you in the reading, maybe uh, puzzled you, or maybe you can add to the discussion by perhaps um, relating what you read to your own experiences. Remember, this is your insurance policy. If you post 7 times in 7 different weeks, if you miss another discussion that's graded, I'll use a replacement grade. So I definitely recommend this for 2 reasons. It adds to the value of the course by making you a leader. And secondly, just in case you have to miss for illness or emergency travel, something like that, you won't lose that discussion grade. And finally, if you have questions, please write or call the number on the syllabus or do both. Don't ever think that, oh, she'll be too busy for a phone call or an email, or it's a holiday or it's Sunday. If you have a question, call my cell phone. If you don't get a response, it means the call didn't go through or the email didn't go through. So just call back. I will never ignore your questions. So, and I encourage you to work together with me on this. If something doesn't seem clear, ask. You may be helping out other students who also don't understand the directions. So I definitely invite questions and good luck with the course.